Welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Shively, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and I'm on a 1 million pound mission. Now, I've personally lost over 100 pounds, and I've applied what I've learned from my own transformation journey to help my hometown clients lose over 35,000 pounds in just 5 years. Now I'm on a mission to produce over 1 million pounds of results by delivering my best weekly tips, motivation, inspirational stories, and transformation strategies so that you can gain clarity about what you need to do to reach your goals and give you the confidence to take action. And the perfect time to start taking action is right now. So let's do this. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude. How's it going out there in podcast land? This is episode number 156, back from the dead and dominating life with my friend Marcus Aurelius Anderson. This one is straight up fire. Before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to this episode's sponsor, the ultrahuman.net. Ultrahuman is a brand that I have fallen in love with. As is usually the case with our sponsors, I find a product and then I ask them to be our sponsor because I love it so much. So I met Jason Deere, the CEO of the Ultrahuman, a couple of months ago, got introduced to his program, his products, and I was like, we have to work together. I have to get this out to my people because this is awesome. So they've got 3 core products. One is a nootropic called Tau, T-A-O. One is a keto product, an exogenous ketone product called Keto Plus MCT. And the third product is called Amino Code. It's a intra workout BCAA, an essential amino acid mix. It's one of a kind in the space. The products are high quality. I use all 3. And again, I was somebody that was using these products before the sponsorship formed and all that. So it's a product and a program and a company that I really trust. I'm very thorough in research when I put something inside my body and then recommend it to other people. So check them out at the ultrahuman.net. That's the ultrahuman.net. Use the promo code MPM10 to get 10% off your order. That's MPM as in Million Pound Mission, MPM10 to get 10% off your order this month. So let's talk about episode number 156. This week, I'm going to deliver a major dose of inspiration with my interview with Marcus Aurelius Anderson. Every once in a while, we just got to get lit up. We just got to get on fire, right? And I feel like this episode is going to do the trick. So let me just put it this way. All right, you ready for this, my friends? This man, Marcus Aurelius Anderson, was pronounced dead twice. And he woke up from that incident paralyzed. And he's come back from all of that to reclaim his health and become an inspirational coach to thousands of people across the world. And in this interview, we dive deep on his story, how he dealt with his injury and all the situations. We just realizing that you wake up, you can't feel your body, and they tell you died twice on the operating table. I mean, how do you deal with that? We talk about that. We talk about the moment of decision where people can choose to be a victim or take ownership over their current situation. We talk about his experiences and how they have shaped the way he tackles adversity. And we also talk about his advice about how we can take ownership over our lives and just be able to overcome any obstacle that's out there in front of us. This is a very, very inspiring interview. Marcus is a cool guy. And I want to make sure that you can, plug in with his stuff after the show. Check out his website because he's a guy that's worth connecting to. I really enjoy following his Instagram account. So make sure you connect up with Marcus Aurelius Anderson. Now, also make sure you hang out after the episode. I'm going to give you some details. We're getting ready to launch our brand new Million Pound Mission Bootcamp. You don't want to miss out on that. Hang out after the episode in the post roll, as it's called in the industry, and check out some of the details on the Million Pound Mission Bootcamp. So without further ado, here it is, episode number 156, Back from the Dead and Dominating Life with Marcus Aurelius Anderson. All right, Marcus, my friend, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How you doing today?
Man, I am phenomenal, my friend. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so stoked after getting to meet you and talk to you and hang out with you at that summit. That was incredible. So I'm really happy to be here today.
Yeah, so I first heard about your story in the New Media Summit a couple of weeks ago in San Diego. I knew that you're a great fit for my show and for my audience, and you've got such an inspirational story. I want to kind of dive into that. And I want you to tell me about that one time that you had an accident and, you got paralyzed and died twice. So let's start there. I mean, that's kind of where things changed for you. So let's talk about that.
That is a great place to start, right? So for me, a little bit of background and then get into it. I joined the military at the ripe old age of 38. I'm 46 now. Joined the military at that age because I had just gone through a divorce, and my great uncle, who was a big positive role model for me when I was growing up next to my father, he passed away. Like, it was a 1-2 combination. So normally 35 is the age that they let you in at the most, but I went in there, I did well on the PT test, my ASVAB score was off the charts, and they signed a release to get me in. So 6 months later, I'm getting off the bus, getting yelled at in infantry school. So yeah, good times. But I really needed that in my life. I was in chiropractic school at the time when all this stuff happened before I got in. So I was going to chiropractic school, taking a crazy amount of hours, working as a bartender, trying to get ready for, I was anticipating we were going to have a family as soon as I graduated. I was a year and a half away from my doctorate. So I was going to hang out a shingle, start serving people with chiropractic and, do what everybody does at 40 years old, white picket fence, everything's figured out. But, there's what we hope happens, there's what we're afraid will happen, and then there's what happens in life. So I'm getting off the bus, getting yelled at, and it's exactly what I needed. I needed that motivation. I needed a kick in the ass. All of us, we always need something to reach for. So our reach should always exceed our grasp, and we should always be trying to improve ourselves and push. And that was a big push for me, trying to go through basic training in infantry school and everything with guys that are half my age. Going through that, got stationed in upstate New York at 10th Mountain, a very illustrious unit, very high-speed unit. So we took that training up a notch and we clicked it up. And as soon as I got there, they were like, hey, get ready because we're going to be deploying soon. So you've always got that mindset. You've always got that mission-focused, forward thinking. And they pushed our deployment back. But even though the deployment got pushed back, the intensity did not get pushed back. If anything, it got clicked up higher. So what happened was a few weeks leading up to it, I could feel a lot of, in hindsight, I look and I see symptomatology because I was in upstate New York. That's 30 miles south of the Canadian border in January. And we would go out in the field for 2 weeks at a time, which means you're away training out in the wilderness, essentially in a war-like environment. And when we would get back into, our barracks and stuff, my hands and my feet were still cold. But I just attributed it to it being negative 20 degrees outside, and you finally get in there and eventually they warm up. Had pain in my neck, pain in different parts of my body, but you always have pain. You always have that, and that's like a companion. So I would always just use my mind to push that out. And it's funny, if we always tell ourselves that there is not a reason that we shouldn't be able to do something, we will find a reason to be able to get there. We will circumvent anything that's in our path and that's an obstruction. So I just said, well, you know what? I'll just suck it up. I'll take some Ranger candy, ibuprofen, and drink some more water and keep pushing. But 1 week we were training really intensely. I woke up one morning and I was completely paralyzed from the neck down. I couldn't move. I tried to get up. I tried to roll out of bed like a log, and my neck would articulate a little bit, but the rest of my body wouldn't go. And at first I kind of chuckled to myself. I was like, oh, well, I must be just really sore. And then when things weren't moving and I'm starting to do like a quick evaluation on myself, like I said, from chiropractic school, you think about these things, and all the symptoms that were pushing into my mind told me that, well, either there's a neurological disorder, I'm paralyzed, or there's just something else going on that I don't recognize. And after about 5 minutes of lying there, realizing that I couldn't move, it was basically my worst fear come to life. As a kid, I remember having dreams where I was trying to run from something and I couldn't move and I couldn't run. And that's exactly what it felt like at that time. So I was terrified beyond belief.
Wow. So Man, that's just a terrible situation to be in, especially knowing what you knew coming from chiropractic school. Like you had, in that sense, knowledge is power, but knowledge, probably took you down a rabbit hole that really freaked you out. So where did you go from there? Like what actually was happening, and how did we start to work forward from this?
So luckily there was somebody that was going to be beating on my door later on, pretty soon thereafter, because we had an after action report. So they beat on my door, and I'm like yelling through the door, "Hey, I can't move." And of course they're like, "Yeah, whatever." And I was like, no, I'm serious. Eventually they kick the door in, they get me, they send me to the hospital. And, and it was just like in a movie, a horrible experience, because if you're on the outside, it's exciting and riveting. But if you're the guy that's on the gurney and they're rushing you in, and you got 10 people talking about you like you're not there, and poking and prodding you and shining lights in your eyes and doing echocardiograms and all this stuff as you're running down to the MRI bay, it's terrifying and like I said, I had an idea of what was going on, so that scared the hell out of me. The MRI revealed that I had a disc in my neck at C5 that ruptured, and that's the same vertebral level where Christopher Reeve was paralyzed at whenever he fell off the horse. So I was scared beyond belief. They take me down to get me in the operating room, and at that point they were like, well, there's not a lot we can do about it right now. Try to relax. I'm asking them, if they remove the disc in my neck, am I going to be able to walk again? Am I going to be able to, what's going to be normal for me? And they said, don't think about that now. Let's just get through the actual operation. Let's get through this and let's go. So they put the anesthesia mask on me, and I started counting down from 100, got to about 97, and felt a really very dark, very cold sort of environment around me. And I felt like I was there forever. And then all of a sudden I remember waking up in the ICU, and they were like, the nurse was like, well, welcome back to the land of the living, Mr. Anderson. And I didn't know what she was talking about. And the surgeon came in later on that day, and he was like, yeah, he kind of chuckled nervously. He's like, yeah, you had us worried. And I was like, what am I supposed to be worried about? And he's like, well, we lost you a couple times. And again, I'm like, well, you misplaced me. I don't get it. And he's like, no, you were flatline. We lost you a couple times. But, so yeah, that was a big, cause I'm already trying to process the stuff that's happened in the last 24 hours at that point. And then to be told, yeah, you were dead a couple times. So it, wow. Yeah, big, trying to digest that was pretty big. So pretty crazy, pretty incredible. And, it made me feel lucky, but I was still, the thing was, in my mind, I'm thinking, they removed the disc from my neck. They put all this metal on my neck. I should be able to walk again, but they've got me in a neck brace. I'm still paralyzed from the neck down. I can't move. And I'm just in the bed, and I'm asking him, so what happens now? He says, well, essentially, here's what happens. If you don't walk in the next few days, it's because you still have permanent nerve damage, and that's what you're going to be left with. And he said, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see it happening. He said, just start wrapping your mind around the idea that you're going to be like this the rest of your life.
Wow. So that's, what a moment. I mean, what a moment in your life. That's one of those really intense crossroads moments that we all experience at different levels. Obviously, this is at a maximum high intensity level. Mentally, walk me through where you're at and how you just kind of got yourself through that mental conversation of like, okay, this is the reality, and here's how I'm going to attack this situation and move forward, eventually to what now has been a very positive way.
Well, I did what everybody does. I went through denial first. I was in because in my mind, because I went from, like I said, being this, old guy, so to speak, in the military to doing like superhuman crazy stuff that I never thought my body could do in the military. So I was like, well, if I can overcome that. And then in my mind, I was like, oh, well, if I've died twice and I'm overcome it, this shouldn't be that big of a deal. But they left me in the ICU for about a week. And then once it was very apparent that I wasn't going to be able to walk in the ICU, that's when they took me back and they let me convalesce. And that's when the realization really hit me. And that's when I went through a lot of anger. I woke up in a bed, like my 40th birthday was not long after that, like a few days later. So in my mind, I'm reflecting, I'm thinking everybody else at 40 years old is married, kids, this amazing house, this great job, and I'm like broke, divorced, bedridden, paralyzed. What do I do now? Where do I go? So I went through a lot of anger. I was mad because I realized that I felt like the universe was bitch slapping me almost, because I'd been given all this potential and I had 40 years to use it. And I realized that I was basically wasting time. I was compromising, or I was allowing myself to be distracted. I wasn't focused. I was doing what other people thought was important, or I was living other people's ideals of what was important. And I realized that a lot of the stuff I was doing was for the wrong reasons. I wasn't doing what was best for me at that time. And I don't mean that in a selfish way, but I mean it in an idea that it's very easy to be distracted in today's society with, the interwebs and all kinds of other stuff that can keep us occupied mentally. And it's easy for us to lose focus of what's really important. But it was a very brutal reality to sit back and realize that I hadn't accomplished a lot of the things that I wanted to do. And now it felt like the universe had given me the opportunity and said, well, you wasted the time. We gave you 40 years. If you're not going to use this, and we're just going to take it from you. So that was a lot of anger, and anger that's from the outside that we project inside is what depression is. And that's what I did. I got to a point where I was literally suicidal, but I couldn't act on it because I couldn't move. So in hindsight, I'm very happy, that I couldn't act on it. But at the time, I couldn't think of anything to be grateful for whatsoever. I was alive, yeah, but I wasn't really living. I was existing.
Wow. So I talk a lot about the mindset of being a victim versus taking ownership. And whether it's with situations like yours, or even just with people that are overweight, or maybe, a relationship goes bad or whatever, it's very easy. I talk about the hardest exercise you have to do sometimes is turning the finger of blame. And it's from going that out to turning it back to us and owning the situation, not really blaming ourselves, but just saying, okay, I own the situation. It is what it is. Now what can I do about it? And it's up to me. So what did you end up doing about this? Obviously you made a shift. What did that shift look like mentally? And then how did you start breaking free from all the negativity, moving into, more positivity where you are now, where you're helping other people break through and, create change in their life for the positive. So obviously a huge transformation took place. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. I mean, no matter who we are or what the situation is, if we feel like we're, not able to move, or if we can choose either two options, and that's all that comes down to. Either you can play a victim for the rest of your life, or you can decide to take ownership of whatever's going on, good, bad, ugly, and accept it, warts and all, and then decide, here's what I have, here's where I can begin. What am I going to do now? How do I move forward? The thing with the victim mindset is that it's self-perpetuating. It's something that becomes cyclical, and the more that we allow it to happen, the more we disempower ourselves. So it allows us to easily become victimized by other things, other people, and all of a sudden we're just almost looking for an excuse to be offended by something. And what that does is that reduces our resilience mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, obviously. So what I did was I went through all that anger, tried to find something to be grateful for. And I know that gratitude is a big deal now. Everybody talks about it, but there's a big difference. Everybody wants to cherry pick gratitude. They want to decide what they want to be happy about. So if they get a new car, if they get a new job, or if they get a date with that person that they want, they're grateful for that, but they're not grateful for when the guy pulls out in front of them in traffic, or if they lose money on a deal, or whatever that is. But you have to look at gratitude from a 360 component. And once you can find the ability to be grateful for anything, irrespective of what it is, if it's something that is we deem to be positive, then be happy about it. If it's something that we deem to be negative, find the lesson in that, and don't be a victim, and don't let yourself bitch out. Don't allow yourself the opportunity to be intellectually cowardice. That's not what we're doing. The idea is to push forward. So what I found was, even though I should be lucky to be alive, I didn't feel lucky, but what I found was this. If I had been deployed when this happened, if I had been in the infantry when this happened, if we'd have been overseas in the sandbox, there's a very good chance that somebody else would have got killed, because every guy that gets injured, it takes two guys to carry him out. So if this had happened while we were out there, I would have got at least a couple of other people, potentially injured. Plus my team would have been put in danger. Plus the medic who would have pulled me out would have been in danger. Plus the Chinook that had to fly in would have been in danger. So literally, I was just grateful that 12 other people or more weren't put in danger because of what happened to me. And once I was able to have that small thing to be grateful for, that was like my cornerstone. That was the building block. And then I slowly was able to build upon that. And then I became grateful for the nurse that took care of me, the bed that I may never get out of, and the room I may never leave, because I knew that that was still my opportunity to find the lesson within it. And from there, I just built myself back up to the best of my ability. About a week after I made that decision, like that mental shift to actually be grateful and not act like I was grateful or pretend that I was grateful or tell other people I was grateful when I really wasn't. Once I actually made the commitment to be grateful, I started getting some feeling back in my hands.
Wow.
And it's crazy.
Wow. So just, I know people have questions just like physiologically, what did the healing process look like? Like what was going on in your body and how did you get back to, obviously, I met you and you're walking around and we're high-fiving. We worked out in the same gym. So
yeah, we did.
So how did that happen?
So what happened was I got a little bit of feeling back in my hands, and I told the people when they came in to check on me, and they were like, yeah, okay. And of course I tried to reproduce it in front of them, and they were just, and of course nothing happens. I'm like, is this like, am I playing tricks on myself? Am I going crazy? And then eventually it got a little bit better. And then I was able to show some. I was like, hey, look, and there was a little bit there. And they were like, okay, well, because they weren't going to do any physical real therapy on me or anything, because they were like, there's no reason to. But that's when they were like, okay, well, tell you what. So they had people come in and they started just doing a little bit of therapy where they would put my hands on it. It looked almost like a bicycle thing where I'm moving. So they would put my hands on the pedals and they would, hold on to my hands and get the movement. And they would do the same thing with my feet. And then slowly, I got a little bit more and a little bit more. Now it was crushing because there was, again, we talk about mindset. I started thinking about, man, I can't wait to get out of here. And man, I can't wait to get out of this place. And I can't wait to get on with my life. And I went back to kind of where I was mentally. And when I did that, physically, I started regressing. Physically, I was back where I was again, almost. So, and I've had people that told me that, well, maybe you would have started walking anyway. Maybe it was a bad diagnosis, whatever. I don't know. All I know that I did for sure was I shifted my mindset to being positive and to being grateful. And when I kept that mindset, I improved. If I allowed myself to be self-serving and self-indulgent, I went the other direction. So from that moment on, once I started doing it again and started getting more movement, I never looked back. And that's why everything that I do in my life now, I attack it with redoubled effort. I don't waste any time. I try to make as much impact on people as I can. And when I help them or when I coach them fearlessly, because I know that this is my second opportunity and I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to allow myself that opportunity to fall back again. So that's like when we were working out. I try to be intense because to me, it's a gift. To me, it's a miracle. To me, it's something that I will never take for granted again. I will never sit there on my ass for, 3 days and, binge on Netflix and be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, because I don't know when the next day is. I don't know when the next workout is. I don't know when the next opportunity is. So I take every one that I possibly can.
Something that just kind of popped into my mind that I was interested about. Do you think, I've obviously been through a lot of your material on your website, and you talk about learning from adversity and using that to progress. So do you think you'd be a completely different person if this injury never occurred? Like what kind of life path would you have led?
It's interesting. And it's very important that you and I are talking about adversity and seeing it as a gift now, because I've done martial arts since I was 11 years old. That's what you and I and Dov were talking about too. And that philosophy is built in there. And with my name, you have to understand who Marcus Aurelius is. I tried to read Meditations at 13, and of course, I had no idea. I was just blown. It's way over my head. But what it did was it gave me an opportunity to be cognizant of what this person was and what they stood for. And I also started reading Taoism, which was easier for me to digest. So that Taoism was like my gateway to understand Stoicism. And they all came down to the same thing. No matter where they were in the world, it was like, basically, there's outside events that you can't control, but you can control how you react to it. So if it's cold outside, you can bitch and complain, or you can suck it up and you can say, you know what, the faster I get through this, the quicker my victory. So that's what I did. But even at that point, with all that learning and all those martial arts, because martial arts has humility built into it. If you think you're getting cocky, you got an instructor or an upper belt that's going to knock you back down there, and it keeps you honest, it keeps you humble. But even with that knowledge, when I got injured, I knew that there had to be something I had to learn from it. But for months I couldn't, because I was just so mad. I was so angry at myself. And that's what the big lesson is. If you don't understand that adversity is a gift, or if you don't find the opportunity within adversity, if you don't have that mindset now, it's going to take you that much longer to understand it in the fray of battle, in the heat of despair, or you may never get there. And those are the people that I try to help the most, because a lot of people mentally stay there. They had that victim mentality. They don't move forward. So this is as high as they can ever get. And most of the time, they don't stay at that level. What happens? They go down. They regress. They get worse. So now they become angry. They become bittered. And now all of a sudden, if somebody else is doing better than them, they have every reason in the world to try to crush them or tear them down or one-up them in some capacity. Or, well, you got it lucky, blah, 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 blah. No matter who you are, there's somebody else that has it a lot worse than you and I do. And they're probably doing a lot better than we are, because they're stronger and more resilient because of the hardship. So see it as opportunity. Quit crying about it. Pick it up, suck it up, look at the lesson to be learned, and take that lesson and move forward.
So do you ever find yourself seeking adversity now, like trying to, physically, mentally challenge yourself to kind of sharpen that edge and maybe even encourage other people to do the same thing?
Every single day, my friend, in some capacity, I'm trying to find something, whether it be, I fast, I do intermittent fasting, and then I fast for 24 hours twice a week. So like on Tuesdays and Fridays, I'll fast. And that's one, because it's good for our body. Good for like insulin, all this stuff, insulin sensitivity, IGF, blah, yada, yada. But it's also because it mentally keeps me focused and keeps me strong. So when my stomach growls around 6 p.m., I tell myself, I feed my body. I don't let my body decide my actions. So if my mind tells me, we're not going to eat. And I have a healthy relationship with food, obviously, but I still push myself to ask more from myself. Before today, I did 10 sets of 10 squats, and I can't use a lot of weight, but by about that 6th or 7th set, oh God, like it's got to be, and that's where you're pushing yourself. So find the adversity in that, find the opportunity in that. If you park a little bit further away from the parking spot, if you take the stairs instead of the elevator, there's an adversity scale that I like to try to explain to people. Adversity, like your worst adversity is 10, and then heaven on earth is 0, right? So if you look at the worst thing you've ever encountered in your life, that's your 10. So if you can look at what's going on and it's Monday and you're bitching about your life and you're bitching about the fact that you have to do whatever this thing is, if you stand back and you look at it objectively from a third person perspective and say, okay, really, how bad is this? Like if my 10 is up here and my 0 is down here, where is this? Most of the time it's going to be a 2, maybe a 3, because we allow ourselves to get stuck in that mental loop. And once you do that, it gives you a chance to break that loop, gives you a chance to nip that in the bud and say, you know what, I'm making too big of a deal of this. I just need to push through this and look for the next thing and look for the opportunity in this. And that's what we have to do in everything in life. It's called resistance training, right? When we lift, we're learning to resist. We're training ourselves to resist. Exactly. Mind, body, and spirit the whole time.
So let's say you're coaching somebody and they're stuck in that loop that you just described. How do you coach somebody through that? How do we, some initial steps to break that cycle?
I use the adversity scale a lot to keep them honest. And then I talk a lot about a default setting. So a lot of times if we're in between things, like if we're in between tasks or if we're driving or if we're in the shower, our mind wanders. And lots of times it will wander to, say, negative self-talk, for example. But if you allow yourself to be programmed with this loop and you say, all right, here's the 3 things I want you to always focus on. 1, I know what I'm trying to get done today. What are my tasks? What are my primary objectives? 2, ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now in this moment, is it getting me closer to that objective or is it pushing me back? Because in life, very few times does it go laterally. It's either going forward or back most of the time. And then 3, like you and I were discussing, being present. If we can be present in the task that we're trying to accomplish, if we can constantly reevaluate and ask ourselves, how efficient am I moving towards these objectives? If you can do that, it's almost like an external thing that keeps you in line. And that keeps you from being, mentally fatigued by thinking about how horrible this small thing is. When you're turning a molehill into making a mountain out of a molehill, it makes it a lot worse. But if you can step from it objectively and just look at it instead of being something that you enjoy or something you don't like, and you just move forward with what you need to get done, that's what helps them. And by doing that, you're programming that loop all the time and understanding that you are the one that's in control of your thoughts. Viktor Frankl says between, stimuli and reaction, there is a space that we live in, and that's where we live, that ability to be responsible. It means respond able. You can decide how you respond to something, and that's exactly what it is. So in the end, there's also, I call it a triangle of control, and there are three things that we can always control. What food we put in our mouth or what food we don't put in our mouth, our physical activity levels, and then at the very top of that pyramid is mindset. So if you can control all those things, everything else around you, we can adapt to anything as human beings. And that's what we're made to do, whether it be in a job or in a relationship or as entrepreneurs. We pivot, we learn, we adapt, we overcome, we circumvent, and we don't give up. And that's how you get there.
I love that triangle mindset. And I have a very similar approach that I call the amazing results formula, which is, the more you get to know me, Marcus, I make up things. I make up phrases that describe things that I'm trying to get across. So I try to help people visualize the transformation process, and then I come up with a catchy name that they'll like, oh yeah, I remember, it's the amazing results formula.
There you go.
But it's very similar. Where do you see people messing that up? So that in that triangle, I mean, it's very simple, and it seems like, okay, I should be able to do this. Now that you're exposed to more people and you're a thought leader, you're an influencer in this space, where do you see people messing this up? So they just aren't quite getting it, or they're in their own head about it, or where are we messing this up?
What happens is we get so ready for things to happen like tomorrow. We have instant gratification, whether it be driving through and getting fast food, or if you want to know the answer to something, it's at your fingertips, literally. So we kind of expect everything else to be like that. People don't understand. It's like, if I've been overweight for the last 30 years, it took me 30 years to get there. So I'm not going to lose all the weight and be exactly where I want to be in 2 weeks. It just doesn't happen. The body is slow to adapt because that's the way we're designed. And the mind sometimes is slow to adapt too. So we have to keep ourselves, constantly poised on that knowledge that it is going to take a little while. But that's why, again, that comes back to understanding what's really a priority. If you choose 2 or 3 things in your life that are very, very important, and everything else in your life will fall away, and these are the most important things you can accomplish, everything else will help feed that if you're really committed to it. And that's the idea. If I'm chasing everything, if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. And a goal is as attainable as it is specific. So what happens on New Year's? I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to do this. They have no definitive idea of what they want to do. But if they say, I want to run a mile in this many moments, I want to lose X amount of pounds and gain this much muscle, I want to do X, Y, and Z. By doing that, that makes us mentally focus and take that additional step, as opposed to having this vague notion of whatever improvement is or whatever impact is. The more we can really wrap our mind around it and be focused on it, the more likely we are to achieve it. And then what else does that do? That builds that feed-forward belief system. It's that loop of belief now. So now, instead of making ourselves get in our mindset and say, oh man, I can't believe I've been doing this for 3 weeks and I don't see a difference yet. You're not going to see a difference yet. It takes a little while. But if it's worth having, it's worth the effort. And that's why you have to decide on what's really important. Because if not, it's going to be easy to get drawn down by it. Also, it's easy to get downtrodden by other people who have tried it for a couple of weeks and then they fall back. And they're going to be like, it's okay, man. I tried that too. Don't worry about it. Come over here, have a beer. Let's watch some TV. And all of a sudden now you're compromised. And every other decision you make from there is compromised. So the big takeaway is don't allow yourself to compromise and call yourself on your BS. And if you can't do it yourself, find somebody else that cares about you and loves you enough to not let you off the hook. And whether that be a family member, a good friend, a coach, whoever it is, somebody that will coach you from a place out of respect and love, but also call you on your BS and kick you in the ass when you need it. That's what it is. Tough love is still love, but you have to understand what we're trying to accomplish. And when everybody that you're talking to in that environment knows what your goal is, they'll help you get there even when you lose focus. That's why it's so important to have people around you, a community like you've built up, a coach the way you are, even an accountability partner who you're like, man, I don't want to go to the gym today. and they call you at 6, you're like, get your ass out of bed because I'm already here. Hurry up. You're 3 steps behind. Now you have urgency. Now you have accountability. And now you have the ability to move forward instead of playing the victim and saying, woe is me.
Yeah, that's the thing, that victim mindset is just poisonous. And then what I tend to see happen is somebody gets in a victim mindset. They look for other people that are in that same mindset. And then it's just this cesspool of negativity, and they all kind of keep dragging each other down. They just, they're fueled by drama and all that. And it's like just the crap magnetism is very strong. You don't want to be around them anymore. And, I've been there before when I was at my heaviest. I talk about it in my book. Like, I was a serious crap magnet. Like, I was that guy that you didn't want to be around too much because I'm just going to kind of bring other people down. And, like you said, we have to associate with other people that are positive, that are going to help pull us towards our goals. And, finding those people are very, very important. So who's that for you? Like what, I guess what I'm interested in finding out is, you've obviously built this new mindset for yourself. What do you do now, and who do you surround yourself with now to make sure that you keep progressing in the right direction, that you are in this positive mental space?
With society today, you can literally surround yourself with Marcus Aurelius, Bruce Lee, all these people that have been around us because you're exposed to their writings. Lots of times their writings are recorded, so you can literally passively stick it in your ears when you're doing cardio and listen to somebody read a book, listen to somebody give you positive thoughts, give you positive mindset. So looking back at the people that have come before us, that helps me a lot. Getting to work with people like J.V. Crum, just a huge legend in this space, seeing what he's accomplished. Another person that really inspires me is named Guru Dan Inosanto. He's Bruce Lee's protege. He's 84 years old, and he lives his life by teaching the art that he loves, by learning the art, learning more arts. This guy's started boxing when he was 5 years old. Okay. So he's literally forgotten more about martial arts than what I will ever learn. I'm lucky enough to be an instructor under him, and I'm very honored to have that lineage. But he is very humble. He says the minute you stop learning is when you stop growing. And he says, if you want to be a great teacher, you always have to be a student. And that's the way I look at it. And just like you said, if you're around people that are in this negative mindset, it will attract more of that. So misery loves company, but not as much as mediocrity. And that's exactly what happens with all of it. So just in the same way that we can choose to surround ourselves with positive people, they said that we're the average of the 5 people we're around the most, right? So choose those people wisely. The other thing is we're also the average of the 5 mindsets that we have the most, right? So if I have a mindset of gratitude, of enthusiasm, of exuberance, of support, and of a desire to serve others, guess what? The average of all those things is going to be tremendous. But if I had the one, like you were saying before, where I had these 5 mindsets of envy and hate and anger and disgust and fear, guess what? The average of any of those things cannot be something positive for me, nor anybody within my proximity. So you have to always be cognizant of it. Again, going back to that mental default setting. What am I wanting to accomplish today? What's the most important thing today? Am I doing that now? Is what I'm doing right now making me closer to that? Am I being present? If you can say yes to at least a couple of those things, the more often you do it, you'll be able to say yes more often in the future. And in 3 months, look where your life is. It will change almost. You won't even recognize where you were 3 months before that.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both are examples of what a mental shift can create in your life. And you can, people have heard my story of rewriting my entire life's, mission and everything I'm about.
Yes.
So,
yes.
We're examples of that. And I think we just have to take that first step. One thing that I'm interested in picking your brain on also is, like, I guarantee somebody from my audience is going to listen to this and they're going to be in that position where they're at that crossroads in life. Maybe it's a relationship crossroads. Maybe it's a financial crossroads. Maybe it's a physical crossroads. So, but they're ready for change and they're scared as hell because that's where, it's changing your life in a significant way is scary. And we both know that. So if you could take that person, sit them down, look them in the eye, like, what would you tell them? Just to give them something, a little boost of the Marcus Aurelius mojo. If you look them in the eye, sit them down, what would you say?
First of all, I would say that fear is a natural reaction to getting closer to truth, because it becomes more real when we start looking at it. It's like, oh man, I'm at this financial crossroads, or I'm at this, emotional crossroads of this relationship. But you have to just take it and look at it from a big perspective, like a a high level perspective, or like I say, even a third person perspective, because what that does is that helps us take a lot of the emotion away from it, and we can start thinking a little bit more logically, and then say, okay, in the grand scheme of things, what am I trying to accomplish now? I see where I've been for the last 5 years. If I'm at this crap job, or if I'm in this toxic relationship, is that really serving me? Is that where I want to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Probably not. So what do I need to change right now in my mindset and my actions to change that? And then just kind of digest it and allow yourself to understand that it will be difficult. But understand that anything worth having is going to be difficult. If it's easy, it's probably something that you don't want. And I'll give you a great example. If somebody's being coached by you or myself, and we give them the best information in the world and they pay nothing for it, they don't value it, and they'll probably just kind of toss it aside, right? But if you charge somebody something and now they're financially committed to it, now everything that I say has a lot more gravitas. Now when I call them on their BS and say, hey, you and I both know you're not doing this, and all you're giving me are excuses right now. So what do we need to do to change that? Understand that what you've gone through, what I've gone through, everybody loves the upside. Everybody loves to see, the hero journey when we're at the top of it. But every day, it's still difficult for me. There's always hardship. The same thing with you. There's always going to be some sort of hardship. There's always a deadline. There's always something. So that's why adversity is a gift. Understand that it is an inevitability. It does not stop. It does not go away. It may be physical adversity. It may be the cold outside, the heat outside. It may be financial. It may be emotional. It may be spiritual. It is always there. So see it as opportunity. See it as an indicator. See it as a compass that pushes you towards your truth, and understand that that's an indication that you're on the right place, on the right track to go to the right place. And all of a sudden you'll be amazed at what happens. But just imagine, I heard one guy that was telling me, he says, when I want to quit, when I'm running, I think about what would David Goggins do? And if you can think of what Goggins would do, well, Goggins ran for hundreds of miles, broke bones in his feet, was pissing blood, just didn't quit. So if all you do is keep moving forward, that's a great way to think of it. It's a simple mantra. It takes all the emotion out of it. It's like, just don't stop. Just keep moving forward. And if you can do that, and you can find what's important to you. So if you know what you want to do and you just don't give up and you keep moving forward, those are two great places to start. And oftentimes there's a lesson in everything that we do. And I've heard some people say, well, how can you say that? Because this whole situation sucks. Well, the situation sucks, and that's fine. The lesson of that situation is not to let yourself ever get in that situation again. So what do you have to do to head that off? What got you there? Okay, then don't do that and move forward.
Yeah, I interviewed a guy named Coach Cav, Justin Kavanaugh, and he had a quote where he said, the larger the hurdle, the greater the prize on the other side. So absolutely. I feel like that's what we have to do as far as when we're facing those major life hurdles that we all face. They're always in. And I love what we talk about. Basically, it's for things to change, we have to change. For things to get better, we have to get better. And adversity is the thing that sharpens the saw. So that's what we have to have that mindset. Now, I want to be respectful of your time, but I also want to make sure. I know you got a lot of awesome things going on. I want to make sure that people can get connected to you. Your mission, your website. You mentioned JV Crum. I know you guys have an awesome project that you're working on together. So tell us what you've got going on and how we can follow your story and connect with you.
Absolutely, my friend. So JV Crum III is the conscious millionaire, and he has created a tremendous empire with that mindset of creating conscious leadership. He wrote the book Conscious Millionaire. He and I have teamed up together, and we've come up with a high performer boot camp for coaches, consultants, CEOs, and business owners to help them get to that next point. So helping them with their marketing, helping them with their actual business plan, and helping them see what actually works and what doesn't work. And that's something I'm excited about. If you go to consciousmillionaire.com /discovery, you can set up a call with JV or myself to learn more about that, to see if that's a good fit for you. Everywhere else you can find me, MarcusAureliusAnderson.com. My name on any social media, Marcus Aurelius Anderson, at Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere like that. And, drop me a line, say, hey, if you like what we're talking about, Adam, then I would love to hear from people. And I'm a speaker, obviously. I'm a TEDx speaker. I'm a keynote speaker. Go to my website if you want to book me for that. If you want coaching, one-on-one coaching, I do that as well. Go to the website and we can talk and see if we can get together and help change the impact you make on yourself and those around you.
Yeah, and I can vouch for Marcus. I know he's got this intense story, and he's come through a lot of adversity, but he's a hell of a good guy, and he's actually really, really funny, too. Like, we hit each other up on Instagram with some funny things and go back and forth quite a bit. But he's a good dude, and you can tell, Marcus, I just appreciate your just, you are who you are, and you are, like, you're not this persona. A lot of people, like, we get into social media and influencers and all that crap, and they're like one person, in one light, and then, you know, when they're actually interacting with somebody else behind the scenes, they're way different. And you are uniquely you, and I appreciate that about you, and I appreciate that you're so passionate about your message and trying to help people. You can tell that you're somebody that wants to help other people. Even with each sentence you deliver, I can tell you're thinking, how do I add value? How do I add value? Like, you're trying to deliver, and that's very, it's very evident when you speak. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you spending time and investing in my mission, in the $1 Million Mission. And I'm psyched because I know somebody will listen to this. They will be inspired. They will make a life change. They will get results, and that'll add to the overall goal that we're all trying to accomplish together. So you're a part of that now, and I just want to say thanks to you, my friend.
Thank you, brother. I'm honored, and we're on the same team. We're going the same direction. Let's make this stuff happen for everybody else and ourselves in the process, you know?
Yep. So I think that Marcus has over-delivered with this interview. He's given you a lot of action steps, a lot. And if you guys do follow me on social media, you know I try to pick out a quote and I put the image behind it. I'm going to have a really hard time picking out which quote I want to use, because Marcus is a quote machine, man. Just really, really good stuff. So, I always challenge you guys that are listening in. It's not just about entertainment. Hopefully we are entertaining, but I want you to take action. I want you to implement. So how do we get better from this conversation? So you got to sit as a fly on the wall and listen to Marcus and I have this conversation. How do we get better from that? What is one action step that you can pluck from this conversation and implement over the next 24 hours? Because that, my friends, is how we get out there. That's how we own it every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. I want to take a couple more minutes and tell you about my $1 Million Mission Bootcamp. We are launching soon. You can get all of the details on our website, millionpoundmission.com. We are incorporating every component of my amazing results formula, and I've produced something that I think will blow you away. It's unlike any other online challenge or bootcamp program that you've ever seen. And it, like I said, it incorporates all the key components that always produce amazing results for the people that I get to work with. We've got our nutrition formula. You get to pick between our classic clean eating plan, our paleo plan, our intermittent fasting plan, or our keto plan. We've got a great workout regimen dialed in where some follow along videos day by day by day. We've got some goal setting that you're going to do with your fitness. We've got a weekly topical course that I'm going to walk you through week by week and do strategic thinking about all the things that tend to mess us up, those things that tend to drag us back. After we build some momentum, we hit one of those life happens moments and we fall back and crash and burn. No more crash and burns, my friends. I'm going to solve that for you with my Push 56 course component of this online bootcamp. And of course, we've got accountability. Several of you have the option to upgrade your bootcamp and get a one-on-one daily accountability coach. Otherwise, we have group accountability with our private Facebook page. So many awesome things. I can't sit here and get it all in a 2-minute post roll, but I'm just psyched about this. My goal is to do 1,000 pounds of results in 8 weeks, and I want you to be a part of that. So head on over to millionpoundmission.com, look for the $1 Million Mission Bootcamp information, and get plugged in. Let's do this.